Hello, everyone. I'm Andrea. How are you? It is so weird to be streaming like this. For one, it's very late. It's like almost 8 o'clock where I am, and that's not usually my- so that is kind of it's a weird vibe. But anyways, I'm so happy that you're here and you join. I don't know how you got here. Like, did you watch a the ad or tell me in the chat how you found me, please. And then meanwhile, let me close out some of these windows because I have 50,000 tabs open. So I've also figured out it's been a hot second since I stream on StreamYard because typically like we have our process, how we stream our work. And I just see that I only have one endpoint. I'm too cheap to buy the account. So we'll hang out on YouTube for today. And then I'll see if it happens that maybe we'll do this on a space. I think that might actually be a better idea because here's the thing. If we do it on a Twitter space, listen, I am not a super fan of Twitter. Like, I mean, it's unfortunately that's what tech still is. Although it's kind of just progressively weirder. But that's a story for another time. So maybe we'll just do a Twitter space for this. Because that way then I can bring some of you folks to talk to me, which could be a vibe. It will be kind of fun. It might be better than just me here by myself talking. Um, so maybe we do that instead. I'm going to try and do that today, actually. Let me quickly see if I can spin up a space. I've never tried to share my screen with a space before. So we'll see. It'll either work or it won't. Thanks to the one person who's here with me. But listen, what did I say? Like you get to be at the beginning of everything. All right. So technically, I start the space. It has weird music on the background, which is unbelievably annoying. And this happened when I was in a space the other day, and there was no way to stop it. I remember now. That's what it was. So when you're muted, it goes into this weird, just strange music. But okay, well, so I'm gonna hang out in the space as well. And then in case you're here and also want to watch, I will put the link to YouTube. This might be a quick solution. But that being said, I would love to be able to bring people on so that again it's not just me talking to myself. Like I love to hear from you and see what you're up to, what you're building, what's been fun, what's been tough, who's pissed you off today. All the fun things. But okay, I'm just gonna keep the space open for now, but I won't be paying too much attention to that. But welcome to episode 0. We gotta start from 0. It's amazing to be here. I am Andrea. For those of you who maybe are just tuning in for the first time to see me, I work at GitHub as a senior developer advocate. And last December, I launched a newsletter called Main Branch. And I want to tell you why. So I want to take just this episode to tell you why. Um, right after GitHub Universe, this is our flagship conference that happens every single year and it's in October. And it's a great conference. There is so much unbelievable talent that happens there. I'm like super grateful for the opportunity that I have. I think I've been to every single universe since I've joined GitHub, even before I was in DevRel. I joined as support, and I think my first job at Universe was like at the help desk. So that was kind of fun. Oh, one really fun thing about this being a non-work stream is that my kids are gonna pop in. I mean, you always hear Wilson and Charlie in the background. Like there is no escaping that. Like the dogs are part of they're part of my studio in my home office. And I won't yell at them for being here because they're my emotional support babies. So but anyways, people are just coming in. So if you hear some background noise, I'm sorry. But anyway, so right after GitHub Universe, I got a ton of DMs from people that are like super smart, way smarter than me, and have been in the industry, some newer, some longer than I have. And it was kind of a common thread on the DMs I was getting. They were all like, is GitHub doing anything other than AI? And I felt that at the core, right? Because I watched, this is after day one keynote, because day two keynote did have some elements of open source. Oh, here is Wilson. You want to say hi? I don't know if you can see him. I can't move that camera, buddy. Maybe we'll do the phone next time so you can be seen. And so it's kind of painful because I know internally there's a lot of people very much like myself who truly care about the product, truly care about you and making it the best it can be for you. And it really does sting when the perception is that nobody gives a shit, because we do give lots of shits. And there's tons of people in the company that are constantly advocating for open source, constantly advocating for developers. Unfortunately, most of the things that we ship that were directly related to like improving your quality of life as developers and the day-to-day, the grind, those things didn't get like the super main stage, like pyrotechnics and the sparkles. And the reason why is because, well, those are the things that are just not, I don't know, they were not as in vogue, they were not as exciting. So people were just not like super into it. From a marketing point of view, I feel like everyone has been having this AI moment. And I, for one, I'm ready to talk about other things. So that beyond that cool agents, bro, but what about literally else? I feel like we're super distracted by this AI hype, which is not hype, is the reality that we're in. And I think we're missing a lot of stuff. The stuff that's truly like making our lives better, making the way that we work better. And that sucks. So I really wanted to create a space where I could write to you about those things, and primarily also it be a space that was not tied to, obviously I work at GitHub, so I do get a lot of hindsight because I work here, but I did want to be able to use my voice. And I do a lot of writing for GitHub. I write the Copilot newsletter, I write for the blog, I write sometimes social media copy. There's a lot of like sprinkles of me everywhere there. But of course we have, like a responsibility to the company. But I wanted to be able to have an abstract opinion removed from my role every day and going back to, I'm a developer, I use these tools. If it sucks for you, I guarantee you it sucks for me too. So what can we do? And I realized part of like the narrative about, well, people are like super busy, just I feel like the first half of last year was, well, AI is going to replace us all. And then one CEO will come out and say, yeah, it will. And then the other one will say, no, you need to still learn how to code. It's a lot. And so Main Branch exists to cut through that noise. So every week I write a newsletter now. It's called Main Branch. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you stick with me for a while. I try to keep it under 500 words. Sometimes I just say a lot, but I really am trying hard to edit myself. One interesting thing about writing like this, it's very different than writing for the company, because at the company I have an editor and she's amazing. Shout out to Wen, who's mostly my primary editor, but also Natalia and Aaron. And they do a really good job at making sure that I don't get stuck in the pedantic loops that sometimes when you're really passionate about something and you're really trying to make a point, you can't help but find yourself trapped in those. So I have to edit myself, but I'm counting on you to also help me edit myself. Please read. And if if you've read the issue, whichever, and you were like, God, Andrea, like you just went on and on, or maybe I missed something. Like I'm here to learn just as much as to share. So please correct me. Please help me make this something that we can all be proud of. And more importantly, I want this to be a resource for the people who are absolutely exhausted that every time they open their feed, every time that they see a changelog from their favorite, be it a developer tools company or not, it's all focused on AI. So hopefully this will be your corner of the internet, and hopefully you will find a ton of value from it. So main idea is that it's not gonna ever corporate speak. It's never going to be me trying to sell you things. I had nothing to sell you here except for ideas. And most of the ideas are ideas that are either my own experiences, things that I feel like, back to my point a moment ago, if it sucks for you, it probably sucks for me too. And so what can I do to hopefully improve the quality of all our lives when we're working with these tools? So it's meant to be peer-to-peer. It's meant to be stuff that I would tell you if we were sitting down next to each other, having a cup of coffee. And yeah, that's Main Branch in a nutshell. So I want to share with you, I'm here streaming about it mostly as part of a challenge too, of accountability from my team, which I love you, team. Shout out to my team for being awesome, about really finding the spaces to talk about the things you want to talk about outside work. And so hopefully this is it, and hopefully you enjoy it. So I thought we'd take a look down memory lane. I've now shipped 10, so I've been at it for 10 weeks. Okay, so maybe it was before December that this cracked out. But I thought maybe we'll just take a quick look at the very first Main Branch. And you can subscribe to Main Branch. There is a link that goes directly to the Beehive instance. So Beehive, by the way, for the folks who are not familiar, is a great tool for you. If you're thinking about starting a newsletter, please send me a message. I'll be happy to send you. I have a discount code somewhere. I'll be happy to send to you. It's like 30% off. So, it's like the same thing. Like, obviously, I'm not paying for any servers. I'm not hosting this myself. This is hosted on Beehive. Like, as honestly, it was the most efficient way for me to do it at the time. After I started shipping on Beehive, I did a website because I wanted to also offer a Spanish translation of the articles. So now they live on both places. But you can subscribe there. You can subscribe here. Just please subscribe and please share. So the very first one, I went out on November 17th. That's okay. I wasn't too far off. I was like, I feel like it was later in December, but I suppose it was not. So in this one, we talked a little bit about two big changes that happened. One was a pull request. And if this is not news to you, listen, I'm so happy for you that you actually got to see it when it went out live. But, there used to be a time when the only way that you could comment on a pull request was on the lines of code that were changed. And we know that that's not how code review works. It's not linear. Maybe when you're reviewing a pull request and you might be reviewing somebody else's code, you might also find a way to optimize something else. You might be thinking about refactoring another portion of the code. So now you have the option to actually just make comments anywhere. And that's absolutely brilliant. I love that. And then there were tons of performance upgrades for actions. Actions is a whole other topic. I think next week, Monday, I want to say I will have one bit of changelog item from actions. So maybe that opens the door for us to talk about actions as a whole. And if you're an actions expert or you just use actions, like, I'd love for you to join me so that we can kind of hash it out. I'm going to be focusing a lot in filling gaps in content in the next couple of months, especially as it refers to action. This is like on my day job, right? And also here for all of you at Main Branch. I think obviously there are things like the economics and all the reasons why we've been hearing about actions in not such a great light. Those are things that are like beyond my control. But if there are gaps and there are ways that we can optimize, we can save money, we can hope to talk to you about those. So hopefully we will have a chance to do those as well. Okay, so that was the first issue. I wanted to share with you what it is like. So I want to share with you every week 2 bits of news. So 2 bits of tech news, either something that launched, an upgrade to something, or something that I just found out and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't even know I could do that. And then also I listen to a ton of podcasts and audiobooks. That's the way that I consume content mostly. So I also wanted to share, I was listening to the Microsoft podcast on Acquire, and it was so good. It really helps you understand how business works. like how they got started 50 years ago, but also how, not every business gets to have a tenure like Microsoft. Like, it's pretty remarkable. So I really enjoy watching that. That was very excellent. And then I was using projects. This was in November. I well intentionally thought, you know what, by December, I'm going to have this entire board and I'm going to start my year with just like Organization Central. And I started looking into projects because, you know what, why not? And turns out there's actually a ton of cool stuff that you can do now in projects that you couldn't do before, including importing the PRs and issues. So there's programmatic ways to do it now, whereas before you had to like literally drag every single issue onto a board. Cool advances. I would be lying to you if I said I made a ton of progress on that mythical project board that I wanted to get to. But hey, I'm not giving up yet. And then I was just going to share a bit about like my life, and why not? I mean, for the one person that's watching, or the two or the three, why not? We're all humans. I had my in-laws stay with me for a while. So that was fun. And yeah, yay for family. So that was issue number one. There, like I said, I have published 10 issues by now. I think we're gonna skip the others so that I want to give you the agency. You can go back and take a look at them on your own time. But we can just jump in and talk a little bit about today's issue, the issue that went out this morning. And once again, I'm gonna quickly grab this link and pop it on the comments. And if you're watching the replay of this, or if you are listening to this after the fact on YouTube, maybe you get a chance to actually like, I don't know, see the link and you click and subscribe. I think this needs to be an earlier stream. I'm feeling like 8 o'clock is gonna be too late, I think, for me. I was really trying to be mindful of the PST folks that are like finishing their day. But I'm not gonna lie, I think this might be more a bright eye and bushy tail 8 a.m. So let's try that next week. Let's do an early one and see how we feel. If you work with me, you know that I'm highly caffeinated in the mornings. So we can all just buckle up for that display. But here is this week's main branch. And there's been a lot of talk now. There is so many cool things that are happening, like Claudebot. Yeah, I'm going to have him on Open Source Friday this Friday. Peter, if you're watching or listening to this, please send me your email address so I can send you the updated calendar invite. But there's a ton of tools out there. It all started, I feel, the spec. Remember that when we started working, basically just thinking of like design systems, but Microsoft, Dan actually created this whole framework for us to work using VS Code and GitHub Copilot. And we've been moving more towards that way of like developing our projects from zero to like actually code in production, but starting with planning and speccing. And now we're running agents and loops like 24/7. Like it's wild what we can do. I think there's a ton of good work that's been done in that space. And then it's also kind of scary because I feel like sometimes we rush to things. And what happens is we forget about using intentional architecture and everything and anything that we're building. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about Astro today, because that was sort of the main topic of my newsletter this morning. It was acquired by Cloudflare, or yeah, I guess acquire is the right way to say it, which I am super happy for them. Anytime that an open source project can find funding and permanence and the teams get to remain the same and it's not like a hostile type of situation, it's good news for open source. Another good example of an acquisition like that is Bun. Like Bun was acquired last month, and same principle, right? I think at the end of the day, this is all good news for us because especially around the framework space. And like for me, I'm a user of Astro. I love Astro. Like this page that you're looking at right now is built on Astro. My personal website is built on Astro. I have a couple of projects too. I really liked it. I think it's been absolutely goated for a very long time. And they really have optimized for the way that we're developing now, which is with hand in hand with agents. So super psyched for them. Congratulations to that team, and congratulations to Cloudflare. Like, that is a hell of a get. And so I was reading a lot about intentional design, and I thought there were a lot of parallels with Astro, because some of the things that I truly enjoy about Astro are very much related to that design philosophy, about not being redundant, about shipping only what's needed. And they do a lot of things to facilitate that, and is beautiful. If you have not used Astro yet, I definitely recommend, like, if you have a project that you want to quickly ship, if you've been thinking about doing your own personal website, which I think a lot of us, it takes us sometimes more time than we want to finally go ahead and ship it. So Astro will be like your phenomenal tool to do that. But I use a lot of the, obviously, like the native framework tools there. There's a lot of intentional architecture baked into Astro, and it's thought of it first. It's not an afterthought. Things like content collections are a super example of that, because it will not allow these bills to pass if they are not matching. So this helps you not ship something and use those precious actions minutes in a waste. So I'm a big fan. And then I've shared what I was thinking about the intentional architecture, while GitHub's well architected frameworks, which, if you have not taken a look at what GitHub well architected is, I definitely recommend that you do. And this has been, it's sort of, I don't know why we have not either. Maybe we haven't talked about it enough. Maybe it's because the way that it was published, it was angled towards enterprise users, and that might be where the disconnect is, because maybe you feel like you don't have the agency at your organization to make this kind of decisions, or it's already, I'm not setting up a new org, so why would I need to take into consideration like this framework of good, thoughtful design? And literally, you can use this. It was the same thing. Throwback to spec kit. First comes out, then puts out this amazing thing, and people are like, well, I'm not prototyping anything. I'm trying to optimize what I already got running in production. So you say, duh, you can also use it. And I want you to think about the GitHub well architected framework like that, more as an opportunity for you to go back and see the way that your organizations and your repos are set up. And maybe you can take items from this framework and bring it into what's existing. And if you are in the process of, maybe you're migrating into GitHub, or maybe you never really, oh my gosh, I think I have at least 2 or 3 orgs that were just like create a thing, so I have a place to put the thing, but I never put any thought into what a well architecture structure for that would be. So this is a good time to do it. It's got a fantastic overview, and all explains all the layers, explains the design principles. These are things that apply to the way that you build software as well. So I think it is a fantastic resource. Like, honestly, it's a underhyped resource, and I thought it would be a bit of a treat for people to really kind of dig through. There are assessments that you can take, and then there are various checklists that you can sort of figure it out. There might be some verbiage here about engaging with like our premium and professional services and things like that. Ours being GitHub add-on for a moment. But you don't necessarily need to do that in order to take advantage. This is an incredible resource. It was created by an amazing team, and it wasn't created by a team that was simply a field team. They've been there, they've done that. Beyond that, this was created using feedback from some of our biggest customers. So if it's good for, XYZ top 500 company, it's probably good for you too. So take a look at it. I welcome you to try it out. If you do end up applying some of these architectural principles to your projects, or you end up doing something different with it, like, please let me know. Like, I love to know what came out of this for you. There is a really great resource that, if you look at nothing else on this well architecture network, I would love for you to look at the anti-patterns list, because it is very good. It's very well put together, and it's got very good fundamentals there, which is sort of the entire reason why I wanted to write this newsletter is because I wanted to shine a light on the importance of keeping tab of fundamentals, regardless of where you are, whether you are maintaining a project, you're thinking of this idea, you want to ship some code, please remember the fundamentals and you will go much, much farther. So it's got anti-patterns that are relevant to enterprise, but then anti-patterns that are relevant to anyone who writes software, really. I think the example that I use on the newsletter itself is a good one. It's over engineering. Like, who hasn't thought of adding, I mean, like Kubernetes, there are so many stories I can begin referencing about, like, it's like, do you really need all that to set out this MVP? Do you really need, sometimes we think we do more is more. And a lot of us, like, this is also hopeful thinking, right? Like, kind of over-indexing for scale thinking, like, well, and this is my hope, right? I over-engineer a bit, but the lazy way when it came to main branch, because I said, well, there is a service that I can pay for that will help, like, manage the distribution list. Before I go build a CRM, before I go build a website, let's try out a newsletter and see how it goes. I figure I'll try it there for a couple of months, see how it goes. It was cost efficient. So I was like, okay, this is like, I felt like if I'm investing on myself doing this, because this is also something that I enjoy to do. So whether I get a subscriber or 100, at the end of the day, I think, like, I scratch my own itch. So I justify it like that. All good. It's also positioned to scale beautifully. But, when it comes to scale, also comes the price upgrades and all those things. So that's a perfect example of over engineering, because I could have put my first newsletter out on dev.to, on daily dev. Now Twitter articles are all the rave, so it could have gone there as well. But I just really, really wanted to have the space. Hey, Neil from Twitter, nice to see you. I'm on YouTube as well if you want to see my entire face. But anyways, so over engineering is, I think, a sin that we all commit at one point or the other, trying to just over verbiage, over fantasize, make a solution way more complex than it really needs to be. And that is very kind of drilled into this GitHub well architecture framework. So if you look at nothing else from this week's newsletter, I really welcome you to look at that anti-patterns list. Again, there's going to be a lot of things there that are going to be, like, super focused on enterprise, and you might be like, this isn't for me. But I urge you to, like, skim through that and just take a look at the things like over engineering. I love one person to tell me that they're not being guilty of that. I will tell you, you're a liar. So, there are things there for everyone, I think. Hey, Sergio, thanks for being here. That was sort of the two main topics. What I found out. I wanted to give Astro a shout out, and then later I'll talk a little bit more about Astro, because part of the way that they do hydration for components is really fascinating to me, and did a bit of deep dive on that. And then what I was watching, I love Lex Freeman, y'all. I don't know if you listen to a podcast that you absolutely love, you're obsessed with, please share it with me, because I am deep into podcast land. But I am picky. Like, I don't generally. I think I listened to Joe Rogan this year only because my husband told me, like, he had Hansen on the show, and I was like, damn, that's a story. Like, he's an immigrant. Like, he came from absolutely nothing to being the freaking founder CEO of NVIDIA. Like, so I got suckered into listening to Rogan for that. But for the most part, I listen to a lot of, like, wellness and aging, of course, tech, obviously, all the tech podcasts. But if you have a podcast that's kind of niche and you're like, oh, maybe that's something that Andrea might find interesting, like, oh my God, please tell me. I will give it a listen. Because, like, I definitely have a broad, and if you read more than one of the newsletters, you see sometimes you're like, can figure her out, because I definitely listen to a lot of different things. think my musical taste is very similar. I have a very broad genre that I listen to. So this particular week, which was last week, while I was in Seattle for my team's offsite, I was listening to this podcast, actually listening and watching, and I added the link to it on YouTube and the newsletter because I want you to watch it. If you can only listen to it on your commute, you'll get the value. But I want you to watch the bits there are parts where Paul, who is this naturalist, and he spent like 20 years protecting the Amazon. It's fascinating to me. I'm from South America. I was born and raised in Colombia, and I know that there are some very remote tribes still that live in very like rudimentary conditions, and are still very like they have not been absorbed by mainland culture per se. And there is that, but then there is this kind of tribe like Paul found, which is completely untouched. Like they have never seen a person that did not belong to their tribe before. Um, and it's just fascinating. In the actual show, he shows bits of like their first contact, so you can actually see like their reactions and how they did not freaking shoot an arrow and kill everyone there all at once. It's fascinating. So I know it's not related to tech, but listen, there's something there about like thinking about how you like honestly have the balls of steel to get in to places that you shouldn't be it in tech and life. And then there is something there for the AI discourse as well, because I love this question that they ask him, like, how do you survive? And he's like, he's very observant, and he has to like, it's up to the animals whether or not he's gonna live, and I would say probably he included humans in kind of that way of rolling it up. He just learned to read them well enough to not get killed, which I thought was freaking fascinating. And I think there is a point there for us in the AI discourse. Like, you just need to be able to still understand the code that things are spitting out for you. Not to not get killed, because it's not that serious, but I mean, it could be life or death for some of y'all. But yeah, it was a fascinating episode. If you never listened to Friedman, definitely. I mean, listen, these are commitments. They're like, it takes me a couple of days to finish it, because they're, unless I'm working and I'm doing something that I can have like that kind of background action happening, it takes me a couple of days to finish, because they are very long podcasts. But if you watch nothing at all, click on the link and watch the YouTube clip of when they made first contact, because it's freaking fascinating. And then I also share weekly, like what I'm using. And I wanted to share about islands, because that's something that I've been optimizing my personal website. I actually just wrote an article about optimizing your personal website for agents and for AI. And I sort of got, I had not shipped it. Like in 2 seconds later, I saw my boss, Cassidy Williams, had actually tweeted out. She wrote a blog post about basically the same. We've been talking about this. We talked about it last week in our offsite. And even before, she was like, hey, I did this thing to try and figure out how AI is like resourcing who I am and who I'm being recommended to. Like you're seeing a lot of search results happening on ChatGPT. And so we had this conversation about that, because I literally just finished doing some optimizations to my own website. And that was part of like using islands was one part of it. But there is a fun little Easter egg on my website. And the challenge there with mobile is that it doesn't need to load in mobile instantly. It doesn't make sense. For one, it was taking a bit to load the page. And so that's somewhere where Astro really shines. Like the concept of islands, I think is amazing. Being able to hydrate only the components that you need when you need them. Brilliant. And then for lazy hydration, for those of you, I mean, and you can do this with pure JavaScript, but Astro does it beautifully, and the syntax is super easy to remember. And I think a lot of us have been using, the visibility to turn the visibility on and off, but not a lot of us have used it for media. And so it's a way to keep your websites really responsive, even in mobile. I really liked it. If you're using Astro, go back and see if you have the components optimized for lazy loading and lazy hydration. And you'll thank me. The people who land on your page will thank you, because it does make it for a much more pleasant experience. So that was sort of what's happening on the newsletter this week. And then I shared a little bit about what's going on this week for myself. Like, I'm back from my offsite. Last week, we spent a whole week in Seattle at the GitHub office in Bellevue, making plans for all of you for the year. And let me tell you, we planned some really fun things. I'm really excited. If I can give you, which I can really share a ton of what we planned, because surprises, right? But if I can leave you one sort of footnote, would be the fact that the right people were in the room. And what I call the right people are the people that truly give a shit about developers. So I hope that you feel that in the upcoming months as you see, and you're going to feel it in content and experiences and in improvements that are going to happen and are happening already in the platform. So, and hey, I mean, I'm the most hopeful I've been in a long time. So if that means anything to anybody. So that was it. That was the issue number 10. If you're joining me from one of the Spanish speaking countries, at the end of the newsletter, and I realize now that when I added the markdown for the website itself, I didn't add the link for you to read in Spanish, but all the articles are also, and the newsletters are also available in Spanish too. One day when my Portuguese stops sucking, maybe I will also add it in Brazilian Portuguese. For now, I'm not even going to insult y'all with that because it's horrific. But that was it. There are 10 issues out. So again, most of them are under 500 words. This one, if you missed it, I did a giveaway for the 100 subscribers. So they got some fun goodies. And I will do another giveaway coming up on my 200 subscribers. So let's get there quick so I have some really fun things that I want to share with everybody, like swag wise. And then there are a couple that had very more specific tips. This cheat sheet for Git, love it. Honestly, these are all Git commands that I use. There's a Git commands that I forget. I used to have a lot of key bindings and shortcuts, and then I had to get a new machine, and I didn't do so well in saving my dot files. And anyways, I had to sort of relearn some things. But there were some interesting things there. And then some interesting tips on saving money. I think using duplicates from actions prevented it for you from running the same thing twice. There is a bit of everything, honestly. There are tips for you personally, and then there are tips for you if you are in charge of an organization. You get to be the hero of your organization and go back and bring some of these tips. And hopefully there'll be things that, most of the things that I'm going to talk about here are going to be things that are free and that are accessible. The security one is an example of that. That was last week's main branch. And honestly, I still see folks that have not enabled Dependabot. I know that the noise was absolutely horrific a couple of years ago. It's a lot better now. And there's a lot of ways that you can reduce that and like make it very fine grain and intentional. So you're not like drowning in Dependabot notifications, which I completely get it if you didn't want to ever enable Dependabot. And there's a lot of new ecosystems that are being supported, including Julia, Conda, Basil. So definitely, if you've not enabled Dependabot in your projects, go ahead and give it a go. If it's public repo, Dependabot is always going to be free, always and forever. And then a lot of folks don't really know CodeQL. There's a lot of thought about conversations happening about generating code fast and how we're generating like tens of thousands of lines of code now with the help of AI. There's a lot of security. There's a lot of the field for security to be a problem is only getting bigger and wider. And so these are things that you can do to improve your security posture, and they're free, like turning on CodeQL so that there are security scans in your repositories. This has been free and out for years, but a lot of people still don't have it enabled on the repositories. And it's super simple. It's like literally 1, 2, 3 clicks for you to go from settings to security to advanced security, code scanning, click setup, boom, default. That's it, 3 clicks. And you can also customize this a ton. If your code is public, if your code is open source, this is always free for you. I encourage you, please at least do these 2 things for your security posture. So that is the main idea of Main Branch, to bring you things that are actionable and things that you can go on and hopefully make your day-to-day easier. But then also, if there is a tip out there that you're sitting on and you're like, I don't have a place to share this. Maybe you did a tweet about it. Maybe you wrote a blog post about it. Don't be selfish. Tell me, and I will quote you on it. Like, definitely share it. I'll love to. Again, I'm by no means a Git or GitHub like mega expert. I'm a user just like you. I have the advantage that this is where I work, so I get to use these tools every day. But I also have, preferences and other things that are not necessarily built or part of the GitHub Microsoft ecosystem. So I'm happy to broaden that conversation. The idea is just to bring you value. And that is it. So that's a bit of what Main Branch is, why it exists. If you ever have any questions, concerns, if there is something that you think there is a massive gap and you're like, you know what, I really wish I knew more about this, please let me know and I'll be happy to research it. For the most part, I'm keeping my ear on the ground of the hell that is Twitter and also the change logs for the projects and tools that I personally use and that I care about. And of course, one of those being GitHub. But again, it's kind of impossible to keep everything. There is so much every single day. So I'm hoping to distill what can be really important and give you like that 1, 2. Here are 2 things. Take them this week, and hopefully make it memorable and actionable enough to where you're finding value and you stay a subscriber and you grow this thing with me. And one of the reasons I also picked Beehive is because it allows for you to have guest writers, and this is something that I hope to get to. Not yet. I mean, we're only 10 issues deep, but I really hope that once we have a couple thousand subscribers and there is a very well established voice of what Main Branch is, I can invite you to be a contributor. And if there is something that you've been dying to say, but you maybe don't have the time or care to start your own thing, like maybe this can be a space for you to do that too. So keep that in mind. I'm trying to really grow this little baby for all of us. So I hope it works out. My commitment to you is that I'm never going to take your time for granted and I'm never going to waste your time. This Monday streams, like I said, I think 8 p.m. might be a little too late for it. Maybe we'll do it as an early morning thing. This is going to be, today's was a bit more of a ramble because I had to say why I did it. It's like nobody was asking, but I really wanted to give you a little bit of background as to why I saw the need to write something else when I literally have so many deadlines to write so many things for that I get paid to do. But I wanted to give you like a bit of context on that. But in the future, we'll dive straight into the week's issue. If there is a code sample or a setting that I can, instead of have you look at the newsletter and read and follow the steps, I will demo that for you right here. I will share my screen. So I think we'll keep it like this. I kind of like being able to have audio because then I can bring people in on Twitter and we can chat there. I just need to figure out how to join not only on desktop, but on mobile as well so that I can actually like hear you. Although I think I could hear you now. We'll experiment with that next Monday. So that's it. That's all from the Main Branch desk. I appreciate you all. Thank you for being here tonight. If you're catching the replay of this, please do not hesitate to drop questions in the chat. I will be happy to come back and take a look and answer. And I appreciate you so much, Sergio, Neil, Sarah, and all the other. There were some incognito folks that were tuning in. I'll never take your time for granted. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. So massive hugs. Go watch that bit of the undiscovered tribes of the Amazon because that shit is great. It's amazing. It's amazing. At one point, we were all like that. We were all Aborigines. We were all like, we didn't know what we know. It's incredible that like I found that fascinating. So I appreciate you all. Much love your way. I hope that this is an amazingly successful week for all of you. Please join me Friday. I'm going to be doing like a marathon stream for GitHub on Friday. I have 3 open source Fridays coming at you because, like I said, listen, last week at our upside, we were like energized, hyped up, and full of hopium. And I was like, yes, we're doing 3 streams. So first in the morning, early in the morning, I'm bringing you Janina Bellini. We're going to do a Spanish open source Friday. So it's going to be open source Viernes. We're going to be talking about the R programming language for all of you amazing nerds out there that are R contributors. Please come. But there is an incredible fellowship opportunity happening within the R community. And so we're going to discuss how you can apply to that. And then we're going to have, oh my gosh, Daniel Rowe. is this the week that we have Daniel? It is. We're gonna have Daniel Rowe, who is absolutely fantastic, and we're gonna be talking about Vue. And then finally, we'll have, hopefully, if I can get Peter to send me his email address, we'll have Peter, and we're gonna talk about CloudBot, which is absolutely bananas. I am like this close to buying a Mac Mini so I can set up some stuff. But I wanna actually go through the open source Friday first to figure out if it's not an over engineering thing on my end, because I already have lots of things happening, like running right now. So I want to see if it's something that I really need to do. And Peter is gonna come by and show us CloudBot, and hopefully he'll demo a bit of the setup too. The best part of my job is I selfishly get to see the things I want to learn about. So I'm looking forward to Friday. That's gonna be like probably 4 hours altogether of streams. I will bring the tea. You just bring yourself. Thanks again. Thank you for being here tonight. And I will catch you on the next main branch next week. If you're not subscribed, please hit one of the links that I've shared. You can go to mainbranch.dev, and there is also a form there where you can magically subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you. Okay, so I have Twitter Space, and now I'm going to end the stream on YouTube. Thanks for being here. I appreciate y'all. Happy Monday night. Let's try it in the morning next week, yeah? I might have more energy then. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week in another main branch extended.